Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show, E-Copy with Experts. So this is Ranmay here, and we have David with us today. David Carberry, who is the CEO at Enradius. Welcome, David, to our show.
Hi, Ranmay. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. How are you?
Good. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
Great. David, before we move any forward and pick your brains on the subject that we're going to discuss today, I request you to introduce yourself, talk a bit about your journey and what Enradius is all about, what you guys do, how you're different in terms of what your offerings are, and we'll take it forward from there on.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So Enradius basically is a geo-marketing location-based advertising company. We do not do any type of creative work. We typically will work with agencies. We work with direct clients. They actually provide us with the graphics, anything that we need to do ad placements. When we work with clients, typically we're going right in and looking at the geography and where their audiences are and targeting tactically for their businesses and what they're looking to try to achieve.
Great. And David, talking about your journey from radio and television advertising sales to founding Enradius, you have navigated various aspects of the advertising industry. So how did your early experiences shape your perspective on effective targeting solutions in today's digital advertising landscape?
It's like coming from the radio and the television industries, radio stations, TVs have this big area that they target. And it was always interesting to me when the internet came into play, what's going to happen when tech gets better? And now we've got faster lines that actually can move video and do streaming and just run and target in specific areas. So I thought of the name Enradius and registered it back in 2011. Then I started the company about 2014. And it was one of those things where it was in the back of my head. I worked at radio and TV stations for years. And I felt that there was a need in the marketplace. And then I got the opportunity actually to work at advertising.com and AOL and see what big clients like Papa John's, Match.com, how they were doing really focused targeting. So the beauty of it is now with everybody having a mobile phone, the data and the preciseness of where you can hit tactically for location based, especially with apps, and where people are located at that moment. It makes it easier and actually effective. And clients don't have to spend as much money as they did years ago where they had to hit big areas like the TV stations and the radio stations. And so now television and radio actually are in that digital footprint and they're all competing for the same digital dollar. So we see that a lot out there.
Great. And as someone who has been so deeply involved in both the startup world and networking, we would love to hear some insights from you into how effective networking can contribute to the success of startups.
Now you're talking my language because we just created a brand new social media tool called needworking.com. And it's like LinkedIn meets Eventbrite meets Reddit, where it's topic based. And so a lot of people meet networking wise where it's who, and that's how your connections work. But as things change with the first party cookie and the third party cookie going away, things are going to be topic based. So for small businesses, just to start off, the networking thing is crucial, just going out and meeting people face to face, but it's also putting your need out there. So need working is a piece of that. And we're excited to build a product like this. I know you build your SaaS products too. And this is really my first big SaaS product and development that we've put into play. But it correlates really well with what's happening within Enradius because when you have a network, when you have somebody that's going out to events, usually it's in a location that's around your town, around your city, and you connect with like individuals that might share different clients or be able to talk about business in that aspect where you're connecting on a different level and it's more personalized. So need working, we call it basically the intersection of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and networking because everybody has a need. So the problem is people just don't ask. So just ask, go out to a local networking event, go to a gathering, go to somewhere that actually you can connect with someone that you might not even know that they can help you get into a business and talk to different businesses because you might be specialized like Enradius is where we're not competing. So it could be a fruitful way for a startup to go out and just talk to as many people as they can and tell their story because that's the way you start up that company.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's very crucial. You never know, even if not really A lot of startups actually look at networking just in terms of investment and other stuff, but you never know knowledge sharing also helps you in terms of building those processes as an early stage startup. You never really, you aren't sure whom are you meeting, what knowledge you can get, which can help shape your company in some way or the other.
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that too is just be concise as an entrepreneur and someone who always comes up with creative ideas. And a lot of the times these startups just are brilliant. They have great ideas, but their minds are all over the place. And you'll hear like 20 ideas while you're sitting there having a conversation with them. And you're like, I just don't get it. So you got to slow the roll just a little bit and just be concise and say exactly what you're trying to say and tell what you're trying to achieve and ask for what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot agree more with that when you said, and any startup or a founder has so many ideas. And at one stage, they will not really realize where they want to move forward. So it is very important to be concise and concentrate on one stuff and penetrate further and then come up with some information which is useful for the other person to then, further guide you in terms of how you should move forward or take the next step from there on. Great, yeah. And it is about geo-targeting, like you mentioned. So geo-targeting has evolved remarkably with the proliferation of location data, real-time tracking. It has become so important to exact map your consumers, understand when are they online, where are they online, and stuff like that. So can you elaborate on some more innovative approaches startups can adopt to capitalize on this trend and create hyper-personalized digital advertising campaign?
Yes, for personalizing different campaigns, what you want to do is really find that persona who you want to target based off of, if you're a startup, who is your ideal audience? Let's say you're a computer software developer or even AI. Do you want everybody to do it? And if you want everyone to do it, then it's an expensive budget. But at that point, you really have to figure out, all right, my target is, let's say I'm a bank. I want to just hit people in a 10-mile radius. Because I have a location that's right here and people can drive into my location. And I know I'll do a better job at reaching the community. So from that standpoint, not even the startup side of it, but just general business, you want to make sure that you figure out who your person is that you want to hit and where they are. And ideally, some of the tools that are out there, if you think of Facebook and their geos are pretty large, half a mile. Where in many cases we can go and create polygons around buildings. And let's say somebody's been at a stadium at a big soccer event or a football event, then you can actually target those people's devices when they were there. There's different ways of targeting and looking at different zip coding, but as regulations and rules change too, depending upon your industry, you have to be cognizant of really what's happening in different markets. There's certain states right now in the US that are starting to clamp down on what you can polygon. In some cases, health care. Now you can't, in certain states you cannot like polygon and box hospital or anybody that does primary care and wellness just because of the compliance side. That happened and stemmed from HIPAA regulations. Now it's just getting a little bit larger. And then schools too. I think some data companies will not allow just any types of polygon and data extraction for elementary schools, middle schools, private schools. And that's just for the safety of the children that are there, especially some of the things that do happen. You just never know.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, David, can you walk us through a comprehensive framework that marketers should consider when integrating first-party data into their geo-targeting initiatives? And then what are those critical steps as per you that any marketer should consider that can drive optimal result?
It's funny you talk about the first party data because that side of it is the landscape's changing considerably. Next year when Google gets rid of the third party cookie in the browser with Chrome, what will happen on that side of it, they're going to go into the ad side with topic levels. So if you're not familiar with topics, I would go into Google and search Google topics and advertising just to see how they're going to start lumping data and audiences for that first party data. So that's the first thing, just doing the research to figure out what kind of buckets that you need to put it in. Now that they've gone in and they've flipped over to G4, The good thing is you can extract the data that's your own data and put it into G4 and create audiences based on who's coming into the website. So let's say you've got a specific landing page that has a specific offer. Then you want to make sure that audience, let's say it's a checking account or it's an AI type of business. You want to make sure that that audience is completely separate from another audience that comes in. So parsing out that data is crucial. The other thing that we talk about is QR coding. There's so many QR codes that are out there for, let's say, menus, restaurants, signs. Are you actually taking that data when they QR code it and put it into your advertising buckets as here is a sign, here is a billboard? When you start lumping that data, and then you can do the retargeting piece of it and actually go back after those audiences, along with, let's say, email, grabbing an email address and any types of data that you're collecting on your side to warrant to match back on that advertiser later on, because it is your data. It's crucial that you actually collect it, store it, secure it, and make sure that it's yours and grow it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also touched upon AI. I could not really let you go without knowing your thoughts on AI. Initially, people were scared about their jobs. Now it's settled in. But yeah, not entirely. And then it's still wondering about the time side. I'm sure exciting time. But yeah, where do you think, where are we headed with this AI and machine learning storm that we are in?
In the advertising space, I think there's a ton of opportunity, especially video. You know how production takes forever, and you've got large video production companies that are out there, television stations to produce videos. It takes them a while. Some of the video AI that I think will be on hand where you can grab just things to push out. That will be a beautiful thing. There's an AI called beautiful.ai. There's so many different types of AI out there now. It is like an entrepreneur, like where your head's exploding, where you've got to figure out which one is the best. Like Chat GPT, it's great, but it's not really as good as like Perplexity or some of the others that have just ramped up real quick based off of what they're doing. And I know Bing, and I don't know, have you messed around with Bing's AI? It's getting there.
I bet
not there yet, but so it's interesting how they've started to work that into the search side of things. And it seems like Bing's traffic is going up a little. So so that's another interesting piece too, where we've worked with clients that have done local listings, and coming from the advertising.com and the AOL side years and years ago, doing SEO and the marketing, it was fascinating that Yahoo would put Google ads in Yahoo results, and AOL would also use Google. So now Bing is actually using Google's, if you have your business listing, and going back to the startup side of it, if you make sure you're going into Google My Business, and adding listing, but Bing will now accept Google listings, especially if you have multiple. So if it's already approved through Google, Bing will accept it that way, which to me is just wild. It's like going back 20 years when engines were helping each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, David. It was lovely speaking with you, and I'm sure our audiences would have benefited a lot out of this conversation that we had today. Thank you so much for taking your time and doing this podcast with us. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's good to talk to you. I'll talk to you soon.
Sure. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Ranmay.